All right, folks, welcome to 2025, folks. It is the new year. This is Fresh Juice, an indie game podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Tommy Fresh, and joined as always, it is.
The Riddler. No, that'd be a bad way to start out the new year. Matty Juice. What's up, everybody? I hope you had a great New Year's. Tommy, we had a great New Year's, didn't we? It was fantastic.
Sure did.
Great time. We saw that clock change. Everyone went nuts. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
It was a good time, had by all, and I think it was so cool. And I can't wait to do my New Year's resolution. And maybe we'll talk about that at the end, what our New Year's resolutions are. But
Yeah.
folks, this is a special episode of Fresh Juice. It is an award show, the Juicies. That's right, folks. The inaugural Juicies of all time.
Oh my God.
Whoa! Did that affect? I know that last time we used sound
Yeah,
effects, it affected my voice, but
you're good. You're good.
awesome. But we got a great episode for you all today. We're going to go through a bunch of different awards. This is not just Game of the Year, right? We have Game of the Year, Best Narrative Story, Best Character, Most Replayability, yada, yada, yada. You will see it soon. But first, we got to catch up. What's going on? How you been? It was Christmas this past week.
Yes, it was. Yeah, no, it was good. Just a busy holiday, kind of splitting it with our family and my wife's family. So, just trying to share the time. So it's usually a tiring Christmas because of that, but it was good overall. Had some good food, hung out with some cool people, and yeah, just kind of been trying to relax a bit during this break from work, where I can, doing some dog training stuff and all that sort of stuff. Watching football, which is great. Sorry about the pack. I was rooting for him,
I know
watching
you
them.
were.
Um, but yeah, no, I mean, just trying to chill. A little recharge. You got a few days left until I got to head back to work. So just trying to relax a little bit while I can. Doing a New Year's Eve party, which should be a lot of fun. And yeah, I don't know. Just been watching some shows. Catching up on some TV. A little Dexter. We're watching a little Dexter Original Sin, which is like the Dexter basically as for those who don't know, not Dexter's Lab, but Dexter like the serial killer. Um, Basically when he was like first starting out, like
they
killing
did.
people.
They did like a
Um,
prequel show.
yeah, yep, basically, yeah. I don't know if it's just one season. They did like the original Dexter, and it didn't really have a great ending. And then they did Dexter New Blood, which is like Dexter and his son, and now they're doing Dexter as like he's like 20 years old and just getting into like the police force, but also he like wants to kill people, bad people or whatever. So I don't know, it's been like interesting seeing all the mistakes that he makes along the way. But yeah, so I've been watching some of that and just catching up on some other shows and kind of just chilling. Now that I feel like the holiday like rush is like done. It's like
Yeah,
just New Year's. You just kind of coast into the next year. But yeah, how about you, Tom? How's everything going
it was
on your
good.
side?
Busy Christmas for me as well. Running around and um, but I still had work because I had just started a new job and I only got like one day off. So I took one, but I've been working and it's really I mean like I went in today and we're recording on Monday. I went in today and I'm going in tomorrow as well. And I by the end of the day, it was just me and one other person in the office. I think, or at least in my vicinity.
Yeah.
And like I had one like really long training, but other than that, I don't really have a lot to do because I'm caught up on everything because there's not a lot to do. And so I was just watching a movie on my phone and pretending to work on my computer. And if my boss is listening, I didn't do that. What are you talking about? But it's an interesting time of year in an office. I'm finding, but I don't mind it. It's kind of cool to be in there and nobody bothers you, right?
Yeah, there's usually like at my job because I mean I work remote, right? But there's some people that go in the office or whatever, and we used to be in the office, but there's like two types of people, like those who take off for the holidays, and then those who know no one's going to be in there for the
Yeah.
holidays. So they're like, I'm going to use my time when like there's a bunch of shit going on.
Yeah.
I always take the holidays off, but I have thought about being like, maybe I just won't do that, and then I'll just take time off in like the middle of the summer when it's like super busy or something like that. But yeah, that's usually the way it goes in the offices.
Yeah, I mean, you have a interesting, not like like it's not like totally uncommon, but your wife is off during this time too, so you might as
Yeah,
well. And I'm always going to be the one that doesn't take the time around Christmas. I don't think, unless like I have the days to burn and they're not going to carry over. But yeah, but I kind of like being like, I don't, nobody's going to talk to me,
yeah,
nothing. I mean, like my old job, like it was a dead time anyway, so I just would never take the PTO. But yeah, yeah. But I understand taking it off too. You just don't have to worry about anything.
yeah,
But yeah, but it's been all right. Um, so we there was one funny thing that happened, and like something I totally realized. We had like a 60, almost like 70-degree day
yeah,
here in New Jersey. Like, what was it, Sunday?
yeah,
And that's like super unseasonably warm, and maybe we should be concerned about it. But I I noticed that boomers, right, the older generation, it is better than Christmas for them. They just go outside and they're just like, "Oh, it's so warm. We need to just be outside," which is
yeah.
like, why? First of all, you're not doing a whole lot out there. It's not like you're gonna get a suntan,
Right.
right? And it's not like we had snow on the ground up until then, so all the grass and stuff is muddy, and whatever. I under like whatever. Maybe they just get a little cooped up, but it made me realize is like this is why that generation never cared about climate change or anything like that, because it's awesome to them.
Yeah,
It's really cool. They love that. So like, maybe I mean, just
yeah,
to put stuff into context, I was like, oh, there they go. I was like, they were out frolicking in the yard, just like "S-
yeah.
this is a bad. This is a bad thing that it's like 70 degrees in December."
I
But
know. Yeah. I miss the days of, like, snow during Christmas. Now, there
mhm.
was a little bit of snow, I think, on Christmas Eve,
Yeah.
which is cool. But, yeah, I remember as a kid, like, there was a lot of snow usually this time of year. And I was just having this conversation with Maria, just like, this is great, because I can go take, like, the dog for a walk without putting, like, a bunch of layers on, but also it's like, I don't want this to happen, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
want it to be like this.
It's crazy, but
Mhm.
another thing that's crazy is I don't know if I talked about it on the podcast, but I've been noticing a lot of drones. Like I'm sure people have heard about it on the news or on the internet, but
Yeah.
New Jersey's getting drones just hanging out.
That's crazy because I have told a few people, I'm like, "Oh, Tom's seen a drone." Because been asking people, and I'm like, "Have you seen any drones?" Like our buddy Matt, who's like travels a lot, he hasn't
Mhm.
seen any drones. He saw one from a distance behind some clouds, I think, but like you've seen them
I've s-
close.
50. I've at least seen 50
Crazy.
of them. I saw one on my way home tonight, hovering like this one was normally they're like moving in a direction. This one was just like hovering over a pizzeria. And maybe it was picking up something. I don't know, but it is crazy. I don't really care. I'm not like, well, whatever. I mean, they're spying on us with our phones anyway. It's like, what could what could they possibly be getting with this drone stuff that they don't have already? It's just like a weird thing. But I see so many of them.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I think I remember the first one I saw because I heard about it. It's happening a lot in North Jersey, and I was like, "Really?" I was like, "I haven't seen any." And I was like walking out of the gym and just like right over me. Like, I mean, it wasn't. It's still like maybe a football field up in 100 yards or 100
Yeah.
meters up in the. I don't know. It's tall. It's like it's not low, but it's up
Yeah.
there. Um, but it's crazy. Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
seeing them.
Now, maybe I mean, the fact that you keep seeing them means that they're watching you. You
Listen,
think that? Is there something you need to tell us? Some
you don't
government
think that
secrets?
thought has crossed my mind? First of all, what could they? I mean, why? And is there something about me that I don't know?
True.
Right? Sometimes this is gonna sound crazy, but like when I was a kid, I guess you like be like in the car and like people just naturally just look over at the car as it passes. And I just like never really realized that I would do that too if a car passed, but like I would just notice people looking at me in the car as it passed. And I was just like, am I like an alien or something and I don't know? Like, wait,
How
what's
fucked up do I look?
yeah, how bad? Like, they're like, look at that ugly kid. Holy smokes. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I hope that's not the case
That's
for
wild,
my
though.
sake, I guess. But uh, maybe it'd be better if the drones were just coming from me,
Yeah,
and maybe I'm Superman or something. I just
could
don't
be.
know.
It's
I
a
haven't really
Captain America
tried to fly.
situation. You haven't tried to fly a drone or
No, I
tried to
haven't
fly?
like tried to fly. Like I'm not. I don't know if I'm
Oh, okay.
Superman. I have
Well,
bled before. Like gotten cuts and stuff. So like I'm not impervious to things, but I could
yeah.
fly.
Well, you got a
And
second floor in that house, right? In a window?
right
Just
behind me.
there you go.
Supposed
Just
to be the
open
end
it.
of this
Yeah,
episode.
yeah.
No, we'll save it for the Patreon.
Yeah.
But we do have some awards to get to, Matthew.
Yes, we do.
We don't have any news really because it's end of the year, indie game news, but we do have one big news story. It's that we have a Discord, folks. It's in the show notes below. It's a great place to ask questions that we answer at the end of the show, and then also uh, interact with us and chill and find out about good game deals. I know Matt's been posting a lot of them, and yeah, it's a good time over there. And then also we did see that a game that we're probably going to talk about a decent amount this episode, balatro, hit basically its peak concurrent users in December this year,
Yeah.
almost a year after it's been launched, which is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome, and just the Steam players as well, so not counting mobile, which probably is more than that, I would
Hmm.
imagine. Um, and then also, Xbox and the other consoles, but, yeah, just awesome to see, obviously this award season, I think it does this for a lot of games, but obviously a game like Balatro it just won PC Gamer Game of the Year. It's winning awards, it's not just being nominated, it's awesome to see, and I'm excited to see if that next content update that's coming in 2025. What's the peak concurrent players going to be after that? I imagine it's going to break that record, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, that content update is going to be pretty sick, and yeah, it's kind of interesting. Even on the App Store, like I pop onto the App Store to see if anything came out because they're putting better games on there these days, like Balatro, and then like I know like Halls of Torment's on there, and then Dredge is going to be on there. Even Once Human's going to be on there,
Yep.
and I just kind of see if anything got launched, and I always look at like it will tell you the top free games and the top paid games. And Balatro, when it was launched, it was number one, and then it was like number three, and then it was number one again after the Game Awards, and now it's like number three again because of the holidays and that Heads Up game
Oh yeah.
jumps to number one during the holidays, which is so funny because you just know that's because people are just bored with their families. Like, you want to play this stupid game? Ellen DeGeneres. I don't know. But hey, listen, we
Yeah.
we don't have any other more news. This is a slow news week.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, why? Yeah. Why would there be announcements?
Yeah,
But there are some big announcements technically happening in this episode here that every news outlet will cover, and it's the Juicies.
the Juicies.
We're
I
getting
mean,
juicy.
listen, we should at least put a blog post out there so people like when they search
Hmm.
award shows and stuff, could be could be pretty sick.
Yeah.
Be pretty sick. All right. Without further ado, it's time for the juicies, folks. This is our opinions. We will be dealing these out individually. So Tommy Fresh's Juicies and Matty Juice's Juicies individually. And we are going to start right now. Let me bring mine up.
I also do have, after we do the awards, I do have some other interesting things that we can talk about,
Hmm.
like that pertain to kind of some trends from Tommy and myself throughout the year that might be interesting. And we will also be publishing on Twitter, and I'll post it in the Discord as well, our best games of the year. Every month after we do our reviews, we decide, okay, what was the best game of that month? So I put together kind of a little graphic for that, and I'll share that with you guys in case, it could be just a kind of a quick reference for you guys. If you're like, oh, I forgot to try out that game back in March, let's go check it out, because they said it was good. So, um, yeah, but without further ado, Tommy, what are the different categories that we have for the Juicies?
The different categories for the Juicies are as follows: best narrative slash story, best character, as in individual character, most replayability, best art direction, biggest surprise, best hidden gem, best musical score, biggest disappointment, and most anticipated game of 2025, followed by our game of the year of 2024. Now, we should say we are including games that we did play in the first, what was it, 3 months
Yeah.
of the podcast that were 2023, but we didn't have a full year, so we didn't do the Juicies last year. So just in case there are some that we think deserve to be in the 2020, or at least recognize, we opened it up to them. So all right, without further ado,
Let's
best
do it.
narrative story. Now, we always cover the story in games, and a lot of games that in the indie sphere end up being a little bit of roguelikey or whatever. So there's not a lot of story, but there are some narrative focused games, and we had some good ones. We had some good ones, and we'll snake it. So you go first in this one, and then I'll go first in the next one, and that's how
Cool.
we're gonna do it. Matt Juice. Matty Juice, what is your pick for best narrative story in the 2024 Juicies?
So, for best narrative story, I am giving this to Hauntie. Hauntie was a game that really took me by surprise. Obviously the art style really strong in that game, but I just also was really surprised with the whole narrative and story, um, for kind of trying to ascend up into the light world or whatever you want to call it. And obviously it's maybe not the most creative story, but I just really appreciated all the different interactions you had with the different characters, and it was just so unique, in the way that they told the story, and it had to do a lot with the art style. So I'm giving that to Hauntie. It was a tough choice for me between a few different games, but I had to give it to Hauntie here, for best narrative story. Now, Tommy, what are you thinking for best narrative story?
Congratulations to Haunty. That is an
Yeah.
honor. It was certainly up there for me. And I was torn between a few games here. Some games I played recently, and then some games we played a long time ago. Because I think we did have some really good narrative games earlier in our career as podcasters.
Yeah.
And I think I have to go with Laika, Age Through Blood, which if that's from the first couple months of the podcast, but I definitely recommend it. It was a Metroidvania, or Motorvania as they called it, where you kind of have that side-scrolling motorbike physics in a Metroidvania way, where you could shoot and do flips and all that stuff. I thought the gameplay was a lot of fun, but I think it really was impressive, the storytelling,
Hmm.
and able their ability to kind of tell the story of this kind of decimated post-apocalyptic world, that's really brutal, and a lot of dark things happen, but, you kinda have these cute characters, right? These are all they're all, like, almost furries, but, listen, it wasn't that bad. Um, and and they really were able to tell the story and build this really interesting world where you explore,
Yep.
through a motorbike, and it's post-apocalyptic. You find these old tapes and CDs that you can play the music from I guess whatever the past was, and it kind of had this Little Mermaid vibe in a way where you're finding thingamajigs, right? Like
Yeah.
things from the past, and it kind of pieces together what that world was, and then also you get to experience what the world is at the current point. So I really loved the world they built and the story they told in that game. So
Yeah. No, that was definitely. I feel like that's one of the better games we played earlier on in the
oh
podcast
yeah.
too. Definitely one that had a lot of heart in it, and tough game though too.
Yeah.
A Motorvania definitely. I mean, sounds awesome, but definitely requires some skill. And luckily, they had some of that bullet time stuff going on too, where it kind of
Yeah.
slows down things. That definitely helped. But Leica definitely definitely a solid choice.
Yeah, and, just some, I guess, honorable mentions maybe you throw out, like, I think The Invincible had a really great story. It's a very story-focused game that we
Yep.
played. And then, I played Menace from the Deep. I thought that told a story in a really interesting way in a deck builder roguelike. And, yeah, I mean, those were some
Yeah.
games that
I think
and yeah.
also, like, The Cub as well, like,
Mhm.
had a pretty cool story. I know we really enjoyed that one. And I mean, even technically, like, Cocoon kinda had a story about
Yeah.
it. It wasn't, like, explicitly kinda told to us, I don't think, but, yeah, it's definitely some good games, from the story side of things. And I think that's also something that's harder to do with an
Mhm.
indie studio, right? Is that, like, how can you tell a great story and have good gameplay? I think a lot of the games we play, like you were mentioning, like the roguelikes and, they're so focused on gameplay, we don't need to worry too much about the story. So, yeah, props to all those games for delivering on that.
Yeah, yeah, so congratulations to Hauntie and Laika Age Through Blood. It's an honor to get this award. Um, the trophy's in the mail. Now, the kind of in tandem with best narrative slash story, best character, right? We had a lot of games with good stories, but sometimes a character can really shine as the focal point of the game. And it doesn't necessarily need to have the best story, but you kind of have this really memorable character that you think of when you think of like indie darlings, right? You think of uh, and the Slay the anybody in Slay the Spire, for example. I mean, like the
Yeah, Super
um,
Meat Boy,
Super Meat Boy, and
Yeah,
I'm blanking on 'em now because I've just been thinking about games we've played, but
I know. Yeah, you got like Hollow Knight,
Hollow Knight, yes.
whatever, Celeste, character,
Hades,
Cuphead, yeah, Hades, yeah,
yeah.
um,
So
yeah.
that being said, my pick for the 2024 best character Juicy is Pepper from Pepper
Oh,
Grinder. Now, I thought this game was like a lot of fun, and it's one that I hope we get a sequel to because the character was really cool. First of all, she was like very memorable, had this unique kind of game mechanic about grinding her way through these levels, and was very memorable, very cute, and kind of uh, played to the overall vibe of that game. And I thought
mhm.
that Pepper from Pepper Grinder was honestly just such a good video game character, and like one that like what was that game we played at PAX where they had indie game Smash
Oh,
Bros.
Fraymakers?
Frame makers.
Yeah.
Sh- she is a character I would love to see in a game like that.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
big fan of Pepper Grinder. I guess like Grind. I think Grinder was the name of the actual
Like the drill,
the
right?
drill. So like
Yeah.
in tandem, it's almost like Jack and Dexter or Banjo Kazooie in a way.
Yeah.
So, but Pepper for sure.
Yeah, no, I that was I had Pepper down as well for best character here. And also, obviously, Pepper Grinder, great game. Wish it was longer, so very excited to see if they do a sequel for that. I'll be hyped for that for sure. But I ended up switching Pepper out, funny enough, and my best character is Gnorp.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, like, I just remember, from the Gnorp Apolog, first game we played actually in 2024, that we gave a certified fresh juice to. I don't know, like, just, even though there's not a lot to the Gnorps in that game, you just kind of feel like they're like your babies, they're your community, right? And they're working hard for you. And for whatever reason, I just kind of like got attached to them. I was close to saying Pepper as well, but I was like, thinking back to the Norps, man. I was just talking about Norps all the time. So I'm gonna go with best character is Norp, and that would also be really cool in a game like Fraymakers, where maybe there'd be like multiple Norps. Like you do an attack and like a bunch of them fly out, or like there's archers or something like that going on, sending drones out, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, really, really enjoyed the Norps. So that's gonna be my best character.
that's a great pick. They're very unique, memeable, which is awesome.
Yeah,
And there were a lot of great characters that we got to play uh this past year. Uh, you don't really get to play as Jimbo, but Jimbo is certainly a memorable character from Balatro. And then,
mhm,
the main character from even Undead West that we played a little while ago. And then like like you had characters that you can kind of customize and stuff like that, like Secrets of Grandia.
yeah.
But
You,
I what
yeah.
was
Go
that?
ahead. No, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, like even like Laika and the
Mhm.
Cocoon character. We had some great actual characters, but some a little bit better than others. Um,
Yeah. I was even thinking like an Animal Well, like
yep.
that character is like, we don't really get a lot from it, but it still can be recognized as an Animal Well character. And even like game like Crypt Custodian, which I know a lot of people like, obviously playing as like that cat.
Yeah.
A lot of people kind of attached to that one as well. So definitely a lot of, great to see kind of the variety in all the different characters in all these games that we played. Even if it was a game that we didn't end up scoring high, right? Still cool to see the different character designs and just character personalities in these games.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we're
Yeah,
getting into more of the nitty gritty of the games themselves. Most replayability or most replayable, I guess, or best replayability. I don't know
yeah.
what it should be called, but these are games that, well, we just kept coming back to, right? No matter what, it was just like, I just want to play more of this game. I think we had a lot of great opportunities to give awards here, but I'm curious to see what you gave this award.
So for best replayability, most replayability, whatever you want to call it, I'm giving this to Balatro. And I think that was kind of obvious, right? But it was not as easy of a decision, like looking, there's a lot of games, right, where I'm like, I forgot like we played this, or like I'll go look up some gameplay and I'm like, yeah, like I remember this being just a ton of fun. Like I know like a game like Cocoon, right, which isn't really, it's a story-based game, puzzle game. It's not really a game that has a lot of replayability baked in. I just remember going back and excited about playing it, but it doesn't have a lot of replayability baked into it. So Balatro for me, easy game to just go back to. I still play it to this day. I think Norp Apolog is a worthy, an honorable mention there as well, just because it's an easy game to kind of pick up and play a good amount of. And even more recently, like games like Ballionaire, right, and Undead West, I've gone back and played those. But for me, just nothing kind of tops Balatro for the year. So that's going to be my best or most replayability um, game of the year.
Yeah, it's Ballad Show for me as well. I mean, I couldn't actually give it to anything else based on the amount of hours I put into that game. I beat it completely, 100% it once, and I'm close to 100%ing it again on a separate platform. So, it's been no secret that I love that game, and it is great. But there were some other great honorable mentions, right? If Balatro didn't get released this year, right? I look at well, there's a game that I'm going to give award to in a bit that I felt was quite good. But Halls of Torment was
Mm,
is a great option here. And then, even I mean, you mentioned Norp Apolog, but something even like No Rest for the Wicked, like has a lot of that kind of grindable, gameplay that you can kind of come back to.
yep.
And, you know, it's just it's just the balatro was it came out. So it's a little bit it's just a little bit tough to give it to anything else. But
Yep.
um congratulations to balatro.
Yeah, and I honestly like, because obviously for future Juicies, we'll try to, we'll keep the categories the same, maybe add a few, but I'm really interested to see what's going to happen next year, right? Because Balatro is one of those games that kind of came out of nowhere. I feel like for us, or like we kind of had a little bit of like a sense of it. I think they might have had a demo, and you just never know what's going to hook you. So I'm really excited to see kind of what wins this category next year. But um, I know the next category here, best art direction, Tommy. Now, this is going to be an interesting one, I think, between the two of us. A lot of great art, obviously, like super talented artists on so many of these indie studios. So I'm curious to know, what are you thinking for best art direction?
Yeah, this is actually one of the I think more contested I guess categories here award for us because with a lot of these indie games, even if the gameplay doesn't quite make it, sometimes you can tell that they really had the vision for what they wanted to go with art design. But going through it, there's a lot of great ones, but the one that I kept coming back to, and honestly, it's a game that I think if you see this, even like a clip, or something that looks like it, or you can't even tell like the character or whatever, or it's just like a maybe a little square from the screenshot, you'd be able to tell what this game was, and it was so unique, and it was excellent. It's Animal Well. I think that it is honestly the best looking game we played this year by a long shot. I think, you know, and I think I saw something that they even created their own, like, I forget what the word was, like, I guess not hard drive. They created with their own not program, something that they can make it look the way it looks. Like
Oh, like
even
an
have
engine? Like an
and yeah, they
engine?
created their own
Yeah.
engine that not only you can make it look the way it looked, which was beautiful, and had that kind of a really dynamic, like, pixel smoke that
Hmm.
you would see, and also it made it, like, only, like, 32 megabytes or something like that,
Yeah.
which was insane, super impressive, really cool character design. Well, I mean, we'll see other games like Animal Well, I'm sure, because it was successful, but there won't be another one.
Unless there's an AMOL too. But
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you got me there.
yeah. So my best art direction is also Animal Well. So I was you were building it up there and I'm like, is he gonna say it? Is he gonna say it? And yeah. This game was an easy choice for me just because of like how striking it looks. It's just a beautiful game to look at. And the art also contributes to like the difficulty of the game as well, because they even use like kind of like almost like negative space as well to kind of build out some of the levels, to find these kind of hidden corridors and rooms that you can go into. And then like just the character design is so odd. And like there would be times I would enter a room and I just sit there because I'm like trying to figure out like, is that a flamingo? Like, what are we looking at here? And then even just like the way I always love the kind of like the vines or whatever that hang down and like you can just like bump into them and they're kind of like this play like it's like neon but like contrasted with the background. Just a really stunning game, and I agree. It's something where like you could see a small part of this, if it was like being teased at like, the next game awards, like for Animal Well 2. And you'd be like, that's Animal Well. Even if you
Mhm.
just saw like, maybe just some like kind of art that was like inspired by Animal Well, you'd be like, that's Animal Well. So it's definitely, yeah, there's no game on this list I think that compares to like the the art style and just the uniqueness of Animal Well. It's a game I still want to go back to as well. It kind of gets it's difficult, right? And like you can kind of get a little lost in it. So we obviously had other games to play as well, so I didn't really stay on top of it. But it was definitely a game I kept going back to after we had reviewed it, to try to get further and further into it. So yeah, and I just think the art style as well kind of like plays into like the secrecy. There were so many things where I was like, I didn't even know I could interact with that, or I didn't even know like that was a button, right? And I think that it's all done on purpose. Like everything was like meticulously placed, right, to be like hidden within the art, which I think is just just a really fantastic job with the game. And there's a reason that game is also, nominated for so many awards and has won a decent amount of awards. It's because the gameplay is great as well, but the art is just really stunning. So yeah, props to Animal Well. I mean, what a job with that game.
Oh yeah,
And
excellent.
yeah, really the thing I think that hooks a lot of people when they first see it too is like this game looks really cool. And then
Hmm.
they play it and then they find out like the gameplay's good as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's super unique. It's a non-combat Metroidvania that looks awesome. I mean, it really is. I mean, if if balatro didn't come out that year,
Yeah. Yeah.
if
Yeah.
only. But this is how the cookie crumbles. Now, the next award, the next juicy is biggest surprise. These are games because a lot of times it's a slow week or we have a busy life, so we're trying to like figure out what we are going to play the next week on the fly. So we kind of just like skim through like new releases and indie games on Steam, and then we say, okay, maybe this one kind of looks interesting, and then we give it a shot. So this is what this award's for. Maddie,
Yeah.
what is your award?
Yeah, so this was a tough one for me because I kind of started thinking of it as like what genres was I never really into, and then I played a game and I fell in love with that genre, and it kind of opened me up to playing more of that genre. And I kind of kept coming back to the Gnorp Apolog. First game of the year that we played, and I never played a clicker really before, was never really into them. I didn't really know if I was gonna like it or it was gonna be that engaging. And I loved it, obviously. So that was really the biggest surprise for me. And, obviously, we played another game inspired by it, like Magic Archery. And I know there's other clickers out there as well, but I enjoyed my time with Magic Archery as well. Although it was a lot shorter of a game, a lot less depth. But this was a really tough one though, because I was thinking of like Ember Ward, right? Like a game that tower defense games are not really my thing. I really enjoyed my time with that one because of like the Tetris influences, and then even like a game like Preserve, also not really my sort of style game. Really enjoyed my time with it. Even like Hauntie kind of came into the mix too, just because obviously the art style was going to be really strong, but I didn't think all the other elements would kind of come together with it. But I just kind of kept coming back to the Norp Apolog. So yeah, that's going to be my biggest surprise of the year. But Tommy, what are you thinking for this one?
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Oh, it's all right. It's okay.
I'm
Calm
scared.
down. You
I'm scared. I was so surprised. Yeah. So this one, I think there was a clear cut winner for me because it is not really something that I would have gravitated towards, no matter what. I don't think, and ended up enjoying the hell out of it, and really kind of like is also like I'm surprised it isn't as big of a hit as I think it should be. It could almost fall into the next category, which is going to be best hidden gem. But you did mention this game. Um, I I had to go with Preserve here. I
Mm,
thought that game was so like unassuming, right? It is just a puzzle game, relaxing, vibrant colors and really like bright easygoing vibes, but like a really nice challenge and kind of addicting to kind of like get sucked into and like try to solve these puzzles. And I really fell in love with it. So yeah, biggest surprise for me is Preserve, which was a awesome puzzle game, which I don't normally go for.
yeah, that game also it just had like a surprising amount of depth to it, and difficulty too. Like, in the beginning, you're like, oh, you kind of place these things wherever you really want, and then you really got to start to think about it. So, and that game is still early access, I believe. So
Mhm.
that was just really impressive. From an early access title, to kind of do all that sort of stuff. Now you mentioned the next category here of best hidden gem. So is it my turn or your turn? It's your turn.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
I'll
it's your
say
turn.
mine, but if you wanna introduce the category.
Yeah, sure. So, obviously, there's a difference between biggest surprise and best hidden gem. Biggest surprise is kind of something that surprised us specifically, but to me, I always kind of view best hidden gem as maybe something that's a little underappreciated. You don't really hear it talked about too much, that you think it should be talked about more. Just really just something that is easy to recommend to people that are looking for something new to play. And for the one I chose, I think it's a game that I've never really heard talked about other than on this show. But Tom, what are you thinking for your best hidden gem of the year?
Yeah, this is a game that I really got sucked into, you know, had a great thematic take and gameplay style on a popular genre right now, and it was a lot of fun. It's in the dwarf tag on Steam. It is Boar Blasters. We've talked about it quite a bit. That game's awesome. I got some buds into that game, and everybody's like, "Wow, this game's so sick." Yeah, at first you're like, "Oh, like how am I gonna survive these rounds?" And then you get to a point where it's like, "All right, how can I clear every single brick in this level?" That would be
Yeah.
a lot of fun. So this game was just a blast, literally.
Hey.
But I think we've made that joke like 20 times. But it was a good time, and it does really deserve some more recognition. It's a really, really good, Vampire Survivor like, but, like, really, I felt like took it
Yeah.
to the next level in a lot of ways. So, huge fan of Board Blasters. Are we what's your pick here?
Yeah, so, that was I did not choose Board
Oh,
Blasters.
okay.
Yes, it was a consideration, the game I did choose is also in the same sort of genre. And I just feel like, it's a game on Steam that has overwhelmingly positive reviews, but I've never heard anyone talk about it. I always hear about, Vampire Survivors, and it's Halls of Torment, as a best hidden gem. It's a game that, if anyone were to ask me, okay, what's a game like Vampire Survivors, and I want to play something new, that's going to be the number one game that I recommend to them. It is just, I love the overall look of it. The sound design is fantastic. It just really, I like the vibe of that game, and I also just find like the discovering of new things, new characters, to just be really satisfying, because you're just like, oh my god, like this just opened up a whole new possibility for me. I didn't even know that there was another character I could unlock, right? Yeah, I'm gonna just go with Halls of Torment for this one, which I just really enjoyed. Best kind of hidden gem. I would say that's just, I've never heard anyone even mention that game. I know it has great reviews on Steam, but I've only heard of it here, and I feel like it's a game that we just kind of like, yeah, we'll try that one out, see how it is, and ended up being a solid game for us.
Yeah, it's definitely making a lot of people's end of year list, but, like, throughout the year, you know,
Yeah,
maybe what was, what the fuck is his face? Asmongold was talking about it or something like that.
yeah,
But, like, that's pretty much it, and that guy doesn't shower. But so I don't, hey, listen, to each their own. But it was a great game, and I have
mhm,
it on mobile, and I played on mobile. I played it here. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. But yeah, kind of funny that yeah, both Vampire Survivor likes, and I think do it better than Vampire Survivors.
yeah, yeah, and I
Both
feel
of
like
them.
there's always, like, other games that are brought up, like Deep Rock Galactic Survivor and stuff, because it has that other IP, like, attached to it, but,
Hmm.
yeah, I just feel like, there's a lot of people out there that just play Vampire Survivors, and they don't, like, branch out too much, and they just gotta see, there's other awesome stuff out there. Not Time Survivors, don't play that one,
Give
but
Abraham Lincoln an axe.
yeah, yeah. Until they do that, then you could play it. But yeah, Halls of Torment, Board Blasters, both awesome games. in that genre. And Board Blasters is even kind of further detached, I'd say, from the genre as
Yeah.
well. If you're looking for like, almost like I don't know, I get like Terraria meets Vampire Survivors vibes a little bit, or like a Dig Dug, I guess is more
Yeah, Dig
Dig
Dug
Dug
for
meets
sure.
Vampire Survivors. So yeah, that's a great one.
Awesome, awesome. Now, next we have best score, and to
Ooh.
join us, we have an orchestra to play no, a little bit of every single game we reviewed this year. Um, we had some great music this past year and 3 months that we've been reviewing games, and there are a lot of great options here. So I'm interested to see where you fell on this one.
Yeah, so I actually went and kind of looked up some videos to remind myself of some of the scores for a few of these games. And the one I just come back to is Wizard with a Gun. It is just such a fantastic soundtrack that I can put on at any time, like when I'm working or whatever. And just the vibes, like these, like Western, like spacey vibes are it's just great. Now, unfortunately, that studio is no longer around, so there won't be a Wizard with a Gun 2 with another great soundtrack, or at least, as far as we know. But that one was just one that really impressed me, and it's something that is just easy to listen to as well, and it doesn't get old at any point. So yeah, I'm going with Wizard with a Gun for best score, which I know we basically brought up the entire year when we talk about music. So that was an easy one for me.
And it was an easy one for me too. I went with Wizard with a Gun as well. There were some other great options here. You know,
Yeah.
if I were to kind of be a little bit more recency biased, Undead West had like some really sick riffs in it, but didn't really have quite the range that Wizard with a Gun had.
Yeah.
Uh, a really close honorable mention was Pepper Grinder. I really loved that soundtrack. That was sick. But
Mhm.
there was something about Wizard with a Gun that really, like, the game was, whatever. We had our review on it, but you go to a composer and say, "This is about a Western wizard with guns. Have at it." And they knew the assignment. They
Yeah.
showed up. They made the perfect score for it. So
Yeah.
kudos. Hopefully that composer definitely does some more video game music. But congratulations to Wizard with a Gun.
Yeah.
Now, the game, next award is biggest disappointment. This is the only negative game award that we have. It's
Yeah.
we got to sprinkle it in because you get hyped for stuff, and it's worth mentioning. So these are games that perhaps didn't live up to the hype or looked really awesome, and just you're kind of like, what the hell happened here? And this is the first. I don't know if this is the first, but this is going to be the first two-time juicy winner is Wizard with a Gun. Biggest disappointment. The concept was so cool, had a lot going for it, great art style, and then the gameplay really just did not live up to the hype. It was very messy and
Mhm.
just like didn't give a fun experience, unfortunately. And I know that that studio is gone now, but it's a shame. But you hope that the people that worked on it go on to do better things, and that's what we hope. So, biggest disappointment for me was Wizard with a Gun.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's like a very kind of tedious game that when
Mhm.
it didn't need to be at times. Now, for me, there was a few options here for biggest disappointment. I thought of putting Hellskate in there. I know I brought that up before, but there was a game I was definitely more hyped for that ended up kind of falling short of my expectations. And it's not so much that like the part of the game I fell in love with isn't good. It's more everything else around it and just the state of the game at this point, and that's Goons, Legends, and Mayhem. Now that is a game that we played at PAX for a few years ago, and I just had we had so much fun playing it because it's essentially like Mario Party hockey, with abilities and things like that. It was just really great, and I kind of felt like the game sort of, went it went the wrong direction. It started focusing on story elements, and I understand trying to introduce different characters and things like that, but I really felt like the core game should have just been those sort of mini games where you're playing hockey. Just have something where it's like a nice quick play where you can go play with other people that are online. Maybe make the game like free to play or like 5 or 10 bucks. I think the price tag was a little higher on that one too, if I remember correctly. So it just kind of had some of these sort of indie roadblocks that we see kind of often where like it can be a great game, but maybe the price is a little too high or they're making it too complicated to just try to get into a match. Like you had to, you kind of had this lobby area where you had to skate over to, do some matchmaking and skate over to do some, switch over your like gear and all that sort of stuff. Like just give me a menu like that. That's cute and all, that's fine. But I just feel like for a game that had such a great kind of core gameplay, they really just built everything else around that and didn't focus enough on the core gameplay. So that was my biggest disappointment. I would love to see, I don't know, some sort of iteration of Goons come back, and maybe it's just a slice of it where it's just
I think
that
they have
game.
that actually.
Oh, do they really?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Oh,
it's not the abilities, but I think it's the same engine. I did see this wherever that Discord was. Maybe I'm not in it anymore. I don't remember where it was because, but yeah, they have a new hockey game. It's just like quick matches. I think it's the same engine. I forget what
cool.
the name of the studio was, but um, yeah, I think they learn from their mistakes. I think, but like this is a great example of a game, right, where you got to pay attention to what's happening at PAX when you
Yeah,
or at any kind of convention that you bring these games to, and people are loving it and playing it. That does not mean they would love to play it online,
yeah.
right? They love the couch co-op experience or the couch play, right? And you gotta just recognize that. And it's tough because it's not really the world we live in anymore, but you gotta figure it out. And there are some games that focus solely on the couch play, like indie games like Boomerang Foo, that
Mhm.
is very popular, but it was like a relatively, I think, cheap game out the gates. So like it was very accessible. And then as you add the auxiliary stuff as you make more money with it. So
Yeah.
um yeah.
Um, no, totally agree, and, that game is called Hockey Super Squad, by the way.
Hmm, hmm.
It's free on Steam's Early Access, which I did not realize, but again, that's also, like, someone who was so excited for Goons, came out, wasn't really didn't live up to expectations. I kind of stopped following them a bit,
Yeah.
right? Like, that's probably me and a lot of other people, but this does have very positive reviews on Steam, and I did just add it to my library, so I might check it out, but with that sort of stuff, it can be tough to kind of um, climb back up a bit. But you know, this is our only negative category, right?
Yeah.
And we're not trying to bash these games by any means, but just we were just disappointed. That's it.
Well, it's all
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Listen, it's just you're the first one.
yeah,
You know, there'll be more juicies. There'll be more juicies. People will forget about the first biggest disappointment. I guarantee it. And now we have most anticipated game of 2025. There are a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipes. We know some stuff for sure. Some stuff on our wish list. And yeah, what we're excited about really is kind of what we're looking forward to, and hopefully reviewing those games as well. And Maddie, what's your most anticipated indie game of 2025?
yeah. So this was tough. It was between two games that I could think of, and I'm gonna go with 33 Immortals. Really enjoyed playing that beta. Obviously, it's like very similar to Hades, but it was just so much fun playing with like 32 other people, right?
Yeah.
And just having these huge like hordes of people go and like do something together. It felt like you just hopped into like a raid in like an MMO, and you know, just kind of these quick matches. Well, not super quick, but you know, quicker than a raid. And yeah, so that was a lot of fun. I also will say honorable mention is Sworn. Really enjoyed playing Sworn. It was kind of between those two because Sworn is also Hades like in a way, but I think what won it over for me with 33 Immortals is just you're playing with 32 other people. That's awesome. Never done that before. So yeah, I'm very excited for that game. I hope it does. It just I think the date is just 2025. I don't think there's a hard like time frame for that game right now, but I hope it's sooner than later. So yeah, I'm going with 33 Immortals. Tommy, what are you most excited for in 2025?
So 33 Immortals is a great answer. I didn't even think about that game, and I am hyped for it. And I'm hyped for Sworn as well. But I think actually a game that I am very excited for, and I'm hoping it comes out in 2025. I know that the plan is there, but you had mentioned an article a little bit ago about a solitaire deck builder roguelike
Yeah.
called Solitude, and it was on itch.io. And I played it. I loved it. And then I see that it's going to come out on Steam, but like have a total like content like overhaul and graphics overhaul and whole engine overhaul.
Hmm.
And it's gonna be called Seal of Solitude. And I really like that itch.io game. I would just jam it on my PC all the time. And honestly, you know, there's no secret that I love deck builder roguelikes and I love solitaire to be honest too.
Yeah.
So Seal of Solitude is could be the next balatro. I'll say it.
Yeah. You know, it would be hilarious if next year your game of the year and most replayability is just a solitaire version of Balatro. That would be perfectly on brand.
I will say it's not a balatro like. It's more of a dungeon crawl
Mhm.
than balatro is. It's not as like big number go up. It's more strategy. So
Okay.
it feels like a more traditional deck builder roguelike, but yeah, it's that itch. I recommend people play that itch.io game if you like deck builder roguelike. It's a lot of fun. So
Hell yeah. That's
yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
but that brings us to game of the year.
Yes, it does.
Holy smokes. Game of the year? Well, this is going to be the game that we think is just the best game overall. It kind of hits on a lot of these categories here and, delivered the best experience for us for the whole year. Do you want to say it at the same time? Because we
Sure.
didn't talk about what our picks were, but
Sure.
this in 3, 2, 1, Balatro.
Balatro.
Yeah. Yeah, or balatro, as a lot of people call it. Listen,
Yes.
it's all right. It's pronounced Baltro or Balatro. Yeah, this game was incredible. We've said a lot about it on this show, and be prepared for us to talk about it more next year, especially when that content update happens.
Yeah.
It changed gaming. I will say it was a moment. This is actually something that I remember chatting with Maddie on the side and being like, it's kind of cool that we got to like start this podcast and then experience like a real moment in indie gaming where
Yeah.
this like solo dev comes out with this weird poker game that people became obsessed with. And we just talked about it earlier. Still like 40,000 concurrent players on Steam alone in December, months after it came out.
Yeah.
So it's an impressive game. It's what they're doing with the Friends of Jimbo is really cool too. It's like, hey, here's some free skins, and then we're gonna give you a free content update too. It's awesome. It really is. It caught the world by storm.
Yeah, and I think also like one of the more impressive things with like local funk in general and playstack their publisher is just like how they've been able to keep the hype building,
Mhm.
you know, and obviously like nominations for game awards and all that sort of stuff helps with that, because you made a great game. But also, like you said, like the Friends of Jimbo updates, just even like the memes that they do on Twitter and stuff, like
Yeah.
it's just like they're doing such a great job of just keeping that hype building because there's been a lot of great games we played this year. Gnorp Apolog was made by one person that obviously didn't reach the heights of like Balatro, but it definitely had like I think it's got overwhelmingly positive on Steam as well, and people really enjoy it. But that dev is just taking a different approach, right? Like not doing as much marketing, I guess, as like Balatro's doing. Yeah, props to them for kind of keeping their foot down on the accelerator, and I'm excited to see 2025 what this content update's going to be. Hopefully, it lands well, but I'm sure
Yeah.
it will. I mean, it seems like they're not trying to rush content for this game, which is good. So yeah, Baltro, easy choice, but excited to see what we think next year because we haven't played a single game from 2025 yet, so we don't even know
Yeah.
what will
I
be
don't
happening next year.
It'd be interesting to see what our first game of the year is, and if it's good, because we start off with Norp Apolog in
Yeah,
2024. Now, I know we included games from we also started off with Cocoon, as the podcast, which was a great game. So,
yep,
um, yeah, it's gonna be exciting. Yeah, Baltro, great game. And also, to be fair, there were a lot of the game was not the same game that it was now when it released in 1.0. Like, the stake system changed and certain card rules changed. So, local thunk's not afraid to go in there and make quality of life updates.
yep.
So, it's very exciting. Now, you said you had some data.
Yeah, just a little bit. Might be a little interesting. It's nothing too crazy. But in terms of, just kind of the games that we played this year, what were our certified fresh juices, our spoiled milks, what were our favorite like genre tags that were on Steam, that we kind of, enjoyed the most. And then what game were we like the furthest apart on, rating wise. So first off, our average ratings. Okay, so the way I did this, obviously we don't really have a number system here, but the way I did this is that a certified fresh juice is a 5, and a spoiled milk is a 1. So everything in between, is 2, 3, 4. So Tommy's average rating is a 3.48, and mine is a 3.44. So pretty close, but Tommy's a little bit higher, just a wee bit. But in obviously around the on sales there, makes sense, middle of the road sort of thing. We had a lot of on sales for the year. And then our certified fresh juices, we did share. Um, these are all the ones that we shared. So Norp Apolog, Balatro, Boar Blasters, Animal Well, Hauntie, Ember Ward, Preserve, and Halls of Torment. But you had one extra that I did not have, which is, do you know what it is? Tell me what it is.
Leica.
Leica. That is
Hey, you had
Tommy.
Cocoon.
Oh, I did have Cocoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I don't know why that's not in there. Cocoon. There we go. Tommy Laika.
I like
Laika.
that. I like
I
that.
did have Cocoon. Yeah, I don't know why that didn't show up there. That's weird. I must have
Yeah.
forgot to type that in.
So
Yeah.
same amount of
Yep.
certified fresh juices.
Yeah, 9 of them. Each of us gave 9 certified fresh juices out of all the games that we played since the beginning of the podcast, which is 56. So 9 out of 56. I
Not
mean,
bad.
not too
Like
bad. Yeah, that's pretty solid.
like what? Like 18%, 15%, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, one every 5 shows maybe or so we give a certified fresh juice. Um, and then spoiled milks here. So I've only given 1 spoiled milk. Tommy's given 3. Do you know what those 3 are? Can you guess by any
Just,
chance?
just Kings.
Yep.
Uh, was it Oh dear, or that
No.
was you gave it?
That's the one I gave spoiled milk. That's my only spoiled milk.
There was a game that pissed me off.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah.
It was. I'll give you a hint. It's a classic Windows game in the title.
Chips
Not
Challenge? No.
solitaire. No. It's a classic game. Comes with Windows. That's in the title. It's the second word of the game.
Oh man, I'm
Um,
blanking. Free cell?
and no, it's Dungeon Minesweeper.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That was a
yeah.
bad one. That was
And
not good.
then Anima Flux was the other one.
Yeah, that
Uh,
one really pissed me off.
yeah,
I think that I felt like I had to give Just Kings and Dungeon Minesweeper because I just couldn't recommend it to anybody.
yeah.
But Anima Flux probably some people would like, but I really did not like that.
Yeah, and that's actually, the game that we were the furthest apart on. You gave it a spoiled milk, I gave it an on sale. It's
Ooh.
the first time we were 2 ratings away from each other with that one. Um, and I don't really remember that game too much, so, maybe I was wrong. No, and lastly here is just our, Tommy's top 5 kind of favorite genre tags, and then my top 5 as well for the year. So what we kind of the genres that we, liked playing the most. So these are ones where if we gave it like a steel or a certified fresh juice, they're going to be kind of these sort of tags. Now, some of these tags are also like if a developer doesn't put tags on Steam, it'll have like popular user generated tags on there. So it's not always the most descriptive. But for Tommy, his fifth favorite kind of genre tag is strategy, then action, puzzle, exploration, and number 1 is roguelike. Look at that.
Woo, woo, woo.
Tommy likes it. I'm actually surprised. I mean, I guess we didn't play a lot of deck builder. There was a few
Yeah.
deck builder roguelikes in there, but um, yeah. So Tommy likes exploring. If there's any devs out there listening, make a game about action, strategy, puzzles, exploring, and roguelike elements. And
I
Tommy
think it's like
will.
kinda Ember Ward,
Yeah, yeah, right.
which I
Yeah,
did love that game. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. True. And then for me, we've got number 5, fifth favorite kind of genre tag here, puzzle, and then roguelike, and then 2D, I thought was interesting, action, and then exploration, which makes sense for me. I always like games where I can explore a lot. The 2D thing was kind of like interesting to me because there's a good amount of games that were tagged as 2D that I was like, yeah, I guess it is 2D. I didn't really
Mhm.
think of it like that, but that makes sense. Um, so yeah, there you go. Those are some of our favorite genres of the year, and there you have it. There's a little recap there, and yeah, and I'll share that image as well as our favorite monthly games for the year. We basically had the same choice up until I think October, and then we kind of split for
Yeah.
a few months. So we'll share that with the juice heads.
Look, yeah, we split twice.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's actually I mean, listen, take it.
yeah.
And now we have listener questions. Let me bring them up. First, this is gonna be a really contentious one. Kmore asks, "Who is better at Mario Kart, Juice Boy or Fresh Man?"
I'll tell you the answer to this right now, all right? It's Tom, okay?
Alright. I was like,
Alright,
I didn't, wanna toot my own horn, but I I played a
it's
lot of Mario Kart in my day.
yeah, I mean, like, granted, I think I'm pretty good, and
Oh,
there's
you
been
can
times
win,
where
yeah.
I beat Tom, but Tom is the one that I just wanna, like, snap a pencil and just be like, "God damn it!" Like, gee like, he's just, like, a little bit ahead of me. He's got
Yeah.
some trick, I don't know, he's probably cheating somehow, but no, Tommy does beat me more often.
Right now, I mean, it would take probably a couple sessions to get back to, what I was. I haven't played a lot, but at one point, I bet I could have like closed my eyes and imagined each course.
Yeah,
Like I had them memorized basically. So like, which
yeah.
is like such a bad reflection on me because I'm bad at like schoolwork. I'm in training right now, in a new job, and I'm not remembering anything. But like, I'm like, yeah, Rainbow Road N64, easy,
Yeah.
you
Yep.
know.
Yeah.
But,
That's how we do it.
gotta do it.
Uh, yeah, and actually, I mean, for me, Mario Kart, like Kmore, you probably know this, but that was the game I first started streaming with. So and Bags as well. Like we just played so much Mario Kart, and we played online. So I was going up against people that were just so much better than me, and that kind of made me better at it. And got to the point actually where I taught Maria because she wanted to get better at Mario Kart, and now she's actually pretty solid at it. She would never drift before, like basic stuff and all
Oh
that.
yeah, got
And
drift.
yeah, yeah, and so she got the hang of that. She also something interesting here too. Sorry, it just made me think of this. Is that I remember watching Maria. She doesn't play like as many games as like we do. Obviously, that's my wife, by the way, for those that don't know. But she, I don't know. I was watching her play Mario Kart, and she was doing everything right, but she was like hitting in the walls and like but she was mechanically doing everything right. And I noticed, I was like, where are you looking when you're driving? She's like, oh, at my character. I was like, no. I was like, you shouldn't do that. I was like, look ahead of you
Hmm.
where you're going. And as soon as she did that, it was like a light switch. And I was like, I wonder how many people out there, like, I mean, it makes sense to like look at your character. You do that in most games. But like
Hmm.
in Mario Kart, you're,
Yeah,
you
yeah. If
gotta
you're
look
driving a
ahead.
car, you're not looking at your lap.
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah, yeah. But it was just like this, like, light bulb moment, like, for her, she's like, "Oh," and then, like, immediately you could see, like, the improvement after that. So, I don't know, pretty interesting. If anyone out there is struggling with Mario Kart, try that method. I guess that's something that people do,
I'll
which I
tell you
didn't
when
know.
I first got good at Mario Kart was Mario Kart DS.
Oh
It
yeah.
was the first online Mario Kart, and it was, I think, also the first Mario Kart after Double Dash. So it had, this was like the first like modern Mario Kart game that had the hop drift. I know that
Mhm.
like 64 and SNES had the hop drift as well, but it was a little bit different, right? This is
Yeah.
pre-modern uh like Mario Kart. And this was a game where you could do snaking. If you
Oh,
don't know what
yeah.
snaking is, where you literally you drift the whole course, and you
Mhm.
just because you're just getting the boost from the drift. And I didn't know what it was. I was like pretty decent at Mario Kart. I'd always played, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna play online." I got like the hookup to like play on my Wi-Fi router. Like I got like whatever it was that made it work with my Nintendo DS, and I'm like, I'll play. And then it was just like, "What the heck's going on?" Like, people just I was like, "What is that?" And I had to go online. I'm like, "Well, why am I losing?" And like, "Oh, you got a snake drift." And I looked up what that was, and I was like, "Well, I guess I'll learn this." And I just remember, like, my thumb being in so much pain after a
Oh,
race
yeah. Yeah.
online, but, like, I was keeping up, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Worth it.
worth it.
Yeah.
All for the game. I don't think I can snake anymore. The only thing I'm snaking is, my drain. Because but, it is what it is. Next question comes from Bags. Favorite bread to use for a breakfast sandwich? Ooh.
Yeah, this one's interesting because I Bags actually I talked with him about this question because he wasn't sure if we answered it in the last episode or not. But um, I like a bagel typically,
Mhm.
a good solid bagel. But I'm also a fan of like the Kaiser roll. That's what I had this morning actually at a diner. And it was great. But yeah, I don't know. I just there's something about like a bagel that just I feels like it's a special occasion when I'm having it on a bagel. So I'm gonna go with like an everything bagel, probably just a standard, good, solid New York, New Jersey everything bagel.
Bagel's the answer for me as well, but if I had to take bagel out of the consideration, I guess. Funny enough, I got a breakfast sandwich yesterday, pork, egg, and cheese at a like a deli that didn't have bagels, and they normally serve it on some kind of roll. And they're like, "Oh, we're out of rolls. Is a Kaiser roll okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, oh yeah, that's great." And immediately they're like, "We're out of Kaiser rolls. Is sourdough bread okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, what? Just give me the sandwich.
Yeah.
I'm
Any
hungry."
anything you got back there. I
It
mean,
was good
put
on
it
the
on a
sourdough.
tortilla. I don't give a
Yeah,
shit.
but
Ah,
yeah, well, Portuguese roll is really good, but
yeah,
it's a bagel. Kaiser roll is, like, close second, though.
yeah.
It's a classic.
Sourdough is good though?
Yeah, it was just, like, sliced sourdough bread. I mean, it was
Okay.
good. I love sourdough bread, so it
Yeah.
wasn't me like, "Fuck this, I'm not eating it." It was still very good.
Yeah.
So, next question comes from Eugen. who asks, "What is your favorite archetype when picking a character?" Example: elf, sniper, melee guy, sorcerer. Eugen goes on to say, "I love dwarves. Who is your favorite dwarf character?" This is a great question.
Yeah, this is a good one. And I feel like, sometimes it depends on the game for me, like what sort of archetype I'm choosing, but I always tend to like go towards more like the range characters. And I like if I'm playing with people, I like to try to be like a support character to them if I can, whether it's healing or buffing or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. I find myself, maybe like yeah, sniper or like some sort of magic from like a distance sort of thing. Um, that's typically, I guess, like the archetype I choose. But again, it depends on the game. Like if I'm playing a game like Dark Souls, I like to be up close and like fast, like high dexterity. Um, so it depends on the game. But if I'm thinking of like maybe like a dungeon crawler kind of thing, then I would choose like a range character, something like that. But what about you, Tom?
Well, I gotta kind of agree with Eugen here. I love dwarves.
Mm,
In the limited amount of time that I played World of Warcraft, I always play a dwarf character, and usually, if it's an option, I'll pick a dwarf. So I kind of like that, like kind of strong, high defense, like heavy hitting kind of character. That's usually melee. But I also kind of like a priest character, like a healing class
hmm.
sometimes. But then you kind of get bored and you're like, I want to fight too.
Yeah.
So I think my favorite Final Fantasy character was always the Dark Mage, though, like in the first Final Fantasy. So I think I do like magic characters in general, but like if I had to pick like a race of character, I would say dwarves. And then my favorite dwarf character is Gimli. If we're including, like, it's a video game character too. I played plenty of those video games.
Yeah.
So Gimli's the man.
Yeah, I'm also a Gimli stan, love me some Gimli. Trying to think of like other dwarf characters that I really do like. I mean, obviously there's a lot in Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
But
I was always a big Thorin Oakenshield guy
oh
too.
yeah, 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 he's cool. He's cool. I also like who's the old one? What's his name? Um
Dwalin.
yeah, yeah, he's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, gotta go. I'll go Gimli as well.
Yeah. Great question, Eugen.
Yeah.
And then finally, from my wife, our carp here asks what our New Year's resolutions are.
My New Year's resolution. I don't usually set a resolution, but I'm gonna say um a genuine resolution would be as a goal. I don't know. I would like to like get a really take our content to the next level and get a like a some sort of sponsored stream for me or something like that. Sponsored video could be cool. Just to of a game that I really like, basically, not just anyone because it's been offered before by like stupid emails and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. That's a goal of mine. But if it was something better, I mean, just to I don't know. I have no idea. Tom, what do you do for these things? I never do these.
So I'm doing one that I did a couple years back. I think 29 it was 2019 because before COVID, I'm gonna try to read one book a month.
Mm,
I love reading, and this year I slacked. I read one book, and it's just like it was too busy. And yeah, I would like, and I got like a whole stack of books that are just like I need to read those
yeah.
at some point because otherwise it's just wasted money. And they all look really cool. So I'm gonna try to read one book a month this year. Last time I did that, I ended up reading I think 23 books, so I almost doubled it. So
Nice.
uh, yeah, that's my resolution.
Now, are you like a physical book reader or audio book or okay?
I'm a physical book reader. I like an audiobook. I don't mind it, but like I'm not. I don't know if that's reading if I'm listening. I don't know. I'm maybe I'm old school like that,
Yeah.
but it's it's a different experience because if I let's say I kinda space out while I'm reading and I'm like, I don't even know what I read that page." I go back and reread it.
Yeah.
If I space out while I'm listening to a book, I'm like, "Well, I'm not rewinding."
Yeah.
That's
I'll figure out
crazy.
what happened. Yeah.
Yeah, context clues. Um, so, yeah, that's my plan.
Nice. Nice. Yeah.
And
Cool.
that brings us to the Rec Room, where we recommend something that might not be an indie game. I'm Ron Burgundy. Um, I'll start off real quick with mine.
Yeah.
I with a lot of these end of year lists and anticipating lists coming out like on YouTube, I've been watching a lot of indie game videos and content, and kind of I watched. Man, I'm gonna blank on the creator, but they often do like what would you call them, like off the beaten path kind of
Mhm.
stuff. They're like, this is like nobody's talking about this game. What would that even be called? I'm
Hidden
blanking.
gem. No.
Hidden gems, I think is probably it.
We
It's
have a
probably
category for it.
we have a category, but I think they use a different word. I'm almost
Oh,
positive.
okay.
But yeah, hidden gems, and they talked about a demo on Steam for a game that's probably coming out soon because it's pretty polished. The demo is. It's called Gnomes, and it kind of goes along with. Listen, I was talking about how much I love dwarves, but Gnomes pretty sweet. It's another kind of tower defense roguelike that I
Hmm.
didn't think I would be into, and I started playing, and I was like, "This is pretty sick." I love the art style. It almost reminds me of like Centipede in a way,
Okay.
and it kind of does some stuff with tower defense that I've never really seen, and I enjoyed it, and yeah, I enjoyed the demo. I keep actually playing it, so
Oh,
check out
yeah.
the demo. It's free, so
There you go. Is
yeah.
that coming out next year?
Supposedly,
Okay. Cool.
so
No. Yeah.
Ohms.
Awesome.
What about
Uh,
you?
yeah, on my side of things, I'm just recommending because I went to one this morning, diners. All right, people. So I don't know how I have no idea how common diners are in other parts of the United States. I know that's not very popular across the world, but if you're ever in the New Jersey area, I recommend just going to a nice mom and pop kind of diner. We went to one this morning that was in like it's a super small place. Went to it's like an old like train car, um, and it was delicious. It's great, just great breakfast food, kind of a greasy spoon sort of vibe, but great breakfast food, delicious home fries, had a little pork, rug, and cheese sandwich there. And also, like, the great part about New Jersey diners, at least, it is, at least I think this is still true, is that like a lot of them are open like all the time. Is that still true or did that change with COVID? I have no idea.
There's very few 24-hour ones anymore, I would say,
Okay, because that was a
but
thing growing up, was just like they were
mhm,
always open and you'd stumble in there at like 3 a.m. and,
yeah, that was the best.
yeah, so that was great, but it's also great because they have so much different food. It's not just breakfast, they got like everything that you can really imagine. And I don't know, it's just a really cool experience, and I feel like we're spoiled here living in the dirty Jers, getting access to all these diners. I know New York's got some too, and I know there's some, in other states as well, but it seems like Jersey diners are what people talk about,
Mhm.
most often. So if you're ever in the area, you should definitely go to a diner, or if you're ever in any area where there is a diner, check out the diner. There you
There's
go.
nothing wrong with a diner. And my favorite thing about a diner is I actually used to stop at one for dinner on my way home from work on Mondays, when I used to live in a different place, and I would stop in there, and the reason I did, well, because I like their food, but also the the server was calling me "hun," "sweetheart." It was like it's just
Yeah.
nice. You're just like, "I'm at home." It's cozy, and I get to eat my like, salad bar,
Yeah.
they get big on the salad bar. A lot of them are Greek-owned too, so you get a lot of good feta cheese and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So, all good stuff.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
But that's gonna do it for the Juicies, folks. I hope you enjoyed. It was a good time. Great games this year.
Oh yeah, just I think one of the better years in gaming, over the last 5 to 10 years, just in
Mhm.
general. Yeah, for sure.
So excited to see what 2025 brings. There's a lot of big releases. Slay the Spire 2 being one of them. That's going to be a boomer bust. You never know. Releasing in early access, we've talked about it in the Discord, which we do have. And why early access? But we will see. Same with Hades 2.
Yep.
But folks, thank you for tuning in. I'm Tommy Fresh. I'm at Fresh Buds Pod on everything. Blue Sky. I have another podcast called Fresh and Buds. Check it out. Maddie, where can people find you?
Find me at Matty Gorm, GORM, on all the socials. And if you want to follow the show, at Fresh Juice Pod on Twitter and YouTube and TikTok and all that good stuff. So, Tommy, the Juicies, version 1, done.
The Juicies. Bye bye.